Video in English after a long time. Uh, I will make one in Czech after this. Takže tohle video bude v angličtině. Až tohle udělám, tak udělám v češtině. Okay, so I hate to say it, but I told you so. So here we are, beautiful day, 21st of October in the fall in Michigan. Elections coming up very soon here, midterm in America. Which is going to be, of course, very important. People say it always, the upcoming election is the most important. Actually, I think the one in 2020 was the most important election 2 years ago. So, but we still have time. There still is a possibility to turn things around. And I had to say it, I told you so. I've been warning about what's here. Marxism in America is here. It's not coming. It is here, and it's been coming here for a very long time. And I've been talking about that since the 90s. I was actually very horrified when I escaped communism for the second time as an adult in the late 80s and came to America. I was very naive when it came to America. I thought America, freedom and everything. And it wasn't as it appeared to be or portrayed itself to be. I was horrified when I started understanding English, how Marxism was already here, hidden, and being taught to our kids, being in the media, being in the school system and everything. So right now America is reaping what it has sowed long time ago. It actually goes back all the way to the 50s. But in the 90s is when I started seeing it, and when I tried to warn Americans about it, I was laughed at. I was ridiculed, and, oh, Martin, you're living in the past, you just escaped communism, and that can never happen here, what happened to you in Europe behind the Iron Curtain. But I saw the writing on the wall because I know the system, I know how enemies of freedom work, and I could see what they were doing. I know propaganda. And so I recognized it right away, even that it was very hidden. Yes, it was very hidden, but now it's flat out in the open. They don't hide it anymore. So I was angry. I'm still angry. I feel betrayed. Left everything, my friends, family, my home country, everything. Gave up everything to be free. To come here, and Americans are just giving away their freedom willingly, not fighting. Now they are. Now finally it looks like they're waking up. So there is still some hope. But after neglecting your freedoms and allowing people to take them away for so long, it's going to be very difficult to get them back. That doesn't mean we should stop trying. We definitely need to even more push. And this election is very important. It is crucial, that's for sure. The next one might not matter in 2 years, depending on how this one ends up. So putting your faith into, the Trump or DeSantis or whoever is going to run in a couple of years might be already a moot point. A lot of people are expecting a red wave. If the elections would be honest, there would be a red wave. But I'm not counting on it because the Democrats are going to do what they have always done and what they have done for decades in big cities and blue states, and what they have done last election. So they're just not going to go quietly into the night, and they will cheat and they will steal. And I might get canceled again for saying stuff like that. But so there needs to be things done, especially in the battleground states. Need to be a lot of poll watchers, and don't take no for an answer. Need to monitor the elections. Not like last time where, people that weren't Democrats were not allowed to the polls, and putting, like in Michigan, cardboard over the windows and saying at least 6 feet would turn out to be 20 or 100 feet. And so people need to go to the polls, especially in the battleground states and watch the elections so no shenanigans happen again. That's one thing. And then it needs to be challenged, which nothing's being challenged from 2 years ago. So it is very crucial because what is coming down the pipe, if you think it's bad now, it's going to get a lot worse if Democrats hang to power. A lot worse. You can't even imagine. So you need to fight. You need to fight the way we can at the voting booth, at calling our representatives, holding their feet to fire, not literally, and not to let them get away with stuff that they're doing. What really breaks my heart is that people are not standing up, and people in position of power, either our representatives or people in media, influencers or pastors, mainly pastors. I mean, what's going on with the January 6 demonstrators? It's just incomprehensible. I mean, it's evil. I mean, in America, to go protest and you're sitting a year and a half in jail without being charged for trespassing or misdemeanors, when real criminals are being let go without bail. Where are people standing up against that? Or going now, the government's going against pro-life, even pastors and pro-life people, arresting them. I mean, but I knew this was going to happen if Americans will allow it to go this far, and they have. And it is a rude awakening for a lot of you, but it's going to be, as I said, a lot worse. This is just the beginning what the Democratic Party has installed for all of us if they cling to power. And mainly I blame the Christians. I talked about this in my previous videos. I haven't done videos in English for probably, I don't know, a couple of years, because I did in 2020. You can go and look, and things that I predicted, things that I was saying have unfortunately come true. Nobody was listening. And with the whole lockdowns and mask wearing, I talked about those. Before the vaccines came out, I stopped doing videos because I saw it's to no avail. And the main thing, it was attack on freedom, of course, shutting down everything. But mainly it was an attack on the church, on Christianity. It was an attack on God, which a lot of people didn't recognize. And the pastors and the churches, American churches, went along with the government, allowed themselves to be shut down. I mean, God showed me that the American church, many Christians and the leaders, they lack discernment, they lack courage, and they lack wisdom. They went along with this when they weren't supposed to. And this problem goes back to the 50s, as I said, when the church withdrew from politics. And now we're reaping what they have sowed by being silent but not acting. And the Bible talks about it. Silence is speech, and no action is action, and God is not going to hold us guiltless when we stand silent in the face of evil. A lot of people don't realize that the main thing why Jesus came the first time was to destroy the works of the devil. So to destroy evil. Of course, salvation and all of that is within that. But he came to destroy evil, the works of Satan. And Christians are not following in his footsteps. They're staying silent in the face of evil. Or they even support it. They embrace all this. They embrace the lockdowns and face masks and the vaccines and Black Lives Matter and transgenderism and all of these things. Instead of fighting against it, embraced it, hired even diversity people into their church and stuff like that. So that is the main culprit in my view. I mean, a scorpion's gonna sting. So the Democrats are gonna do what they're gonna do. They're Marxist. That's who they are. So we can't expect any different from them. It's their nature. But you have to fight against that with the tools that you were given in the Constitution by our founding fathers, but mainly by the Lord, by God. You know, true freedom comes from God. That's why this country has been the most free country in the history of human race, because it was built on God's principles and on prayer. And so, and Christians have, I guess, forgotten that. Pastors are too weak, to lack courage, lack discernment. They do not understand what they're supposed to do. Even if their intentions are good, they're deceived. They don't want to preach politics because they're focusing on, well, it's controversial, it's dividing people, so we need to just preach things to get people saved. That's nonsense, because that'll be like Jesus not talking about hell because it's too controversial, or you know, not talking about other things. So we need to speak the truth, because that is where the true freedom. Are we on? Having some connection issues, but I just turned on the TV. There was Stephen Furtick, and that's the other problem: is that other Christians, pastors, leaders that even agree with me, which are not that many, unfortunately, they will not call out the ones that are doing wrong, and they need to be called out so people that do not know can be aware of it. So I turn on and Stephen Furtick, big preacher, right? Yesterday, and he talks about that he won't talk about politics, that he does vote, but he won't talk about politics that a lot of people encouraged him to over the years, but he won't, because that's not his fight. That his fight is not running the White House, but his own house. That is a totally flawed understanding of the Bible, because the White House, if you don't run the White House will run your house, and your schools, and your local municipality and government and everything. And that is what is happening, that men will be going into girls' bathrooms and stuff. And I don't even want to get into all of that. You see yourselves what's going on. But it is mainly when people don't stand up. And that is what's going on with the January 6th protesters. That's what's going on with the pro-life movement, where the FBI, Department of Justice, is going after them. It is to silence any opposition and scare people into silence. I mean, what just happened, Steve Bannon getting 4 months in jail and some fine, that is absolutely ridiculous, because he said some insulting things, again, shifty shift and the sham January 6th commission and that kind of stuff, so they added to his sentence. I mean, this is all insane, but there's people that are getting a lot bigger sentences for nothing, for just walking into the Capitol. And that whole thing was, of course, a setup. That's why Nancy Pelosi and what's the mayor of D.C., Brower or Brewer or whatever name, they didn't want the National Guard, because they wanted that to happen. That's why they were provocateurs, again, an old tactic from communism, to initiate this. That was all a setup. That was all by design, and they got exactly what they wanted. No challenge to the election. Everybody got scared, and now they're going after people, and they're going to get away with it unless people say no. Enough is enough. I mean, I can even the no bail and allowing the crime, that goes all the way back. This is nothing new. It's an old playbook that the communists have done all the way back into 1917 in Russia, where exactly the same thing. The Communist Party, they allowed crime to run rampant because it was to destabilize the society, so the communists can totally take over power, because in the beginning they did not have the power. They actually did not. The communists weren't the ones that attacked the White Palace in Petrograd, where the Russian Tsar lived. So the communists then, you know, they slowly took over power, but they weren't the leading power in Russia at the time. But through the tactics that the Democratic Party is using today in America, they learned very well. how to do things. So that's why I've been able to recognize a lot of things that are coming down all the way since the 90s, is because of my experience and because I know the playbook. I mean, it's like football, right? Which should be called handball, right? Why it's football, American football. When if you know the playbook, you see the defense or the offense lining up, and you have the other team's playbook, you know what's going to happen. So it really is that simple. But if you don't know the playbook, you don't have a clue what's happening. And it is also goes to Sun Tzu, Art of War. Got to know your enemy, what he thinks, how he operates. And it is very disheartening to me that I have tried over the years, you know, war in America, and nobody would really listen. It was too controversial, or that can't happen here, and blah, blah, blah. And here we are. And this is not the end. And I mean, America's future, if we continue on this road, is my past that I escaped from. And I don't want that. So I decided if I make a difference again, I took a hiatus, tried to just concentrate on my life. But I feel I need to try again, share my experiences. Maybe a few people will learn from it. Then we'll stand up and fight. But mainly it have to be the people that have the platform, that have the power. I don't. Can't be afraid. I mean, there's you know, very few preachers that, you know, we got I think McCarthy's his name in California, that is stood up against the lockdowns. You know, it shouldn't be 0.5% of the pastors. It should be 100% of the pastors to do that. You know, I mean, there is some hope. I mean, Tucker Carlson, I mean, he's pretty much the only one I watch right now, because he's exposing things that I know about, but he's the one that is talking about it, which is good, and not afraid. But we need thousands of Tucker Carlsons. I mean, or, you know, 100,000. I mean, we need anybody that has the influence and the platform to speak up and don't be afraid. Otherwise, we're going to lose it all. We're going to lose everything. And when I mean everything, I mean everything. And you're not going to like it. Trust me. I've been there, escaped from it. So wake up, smell the liberal. Don't be a useful idiot just to go along. Just focusing on your own life. I did for a while, but I had to. I couldn't take it anymore. I had to regroup. I had to recharge. Here I am. We'll see if it does any good. But, you know, it's useful idiot comes from, you know, the communists, Stalin and Lenin, you know, where a lot of people were useful idiots, that they believed in the lies and supported them, or didn't believe in them but allow it to happen because they didn't want to be persecuted. So don't be one of those. I mean, it should be in America's blood to fight for its freedom, and right now you can still do it at the ballot box, with phone calls, with peaceful demonstrations. But you have to have what is happening at school board meetings is very good, but that has to happen on every level. That has to happen at your representatives in front of their offices in Washington, in front of the White House, Capitol. I mean, that has to happen everywhere and in large numbers. I mean, where are the big demonstrations? There's big demonstrations going on in Europe, which is very surprising to me. In the Netherlands, in Holland, big demonstrations. In Czech Republic, in Prague, big demonstrations. In Italy, and they were in France, and so that if Europe can do it, which is very leftist, very socialist, starting to wake up, fight against what's going on, Americans definitely need to do it. I mean, there is strength in numbers. Yeah, if there's only going to be few people, it's easy to go after, you know, 1,000 demonstrators in Washington, D.C. on January 6th, and especially if nobody stands up for them, or only here and there and few people. So, you know, I could talk about a few other things. I'll mention one thing about Nor Nord Stream 1 and 2, which our vice president called Nordstrom or whatever, the department store. um, so of course, you know, Russia's being blamed, but, and a lot of people are looking that it's America. It still could be Russia. Could still be Russia because Russia could be burning their retreat bridge, you know, no surrender, no retreat. So you burn your bridge not to be able to go back, just to push forward. I mean, it could be. I really don't see it much. I actually more see that it's a conspiracy of the Western powers, that they did it. Even that their people are going to be hurting. Even Germany, I would not pass it by that Germany was involved because they destroyed those pipelines. And it is to force your Green New Deal. It is to force, okay, we have to go to these new energies because now we really can't go back to gas because we don't have, or the ones that we're getting from United States is too expensive. So all things don't always, things don't look, don't appear as they really are, as they look. So you got to try to a little bit think outside the box, and as Ronald Reagan said, trust but verify. Now I think it came more to the don't trust and find out for yourself, because definitely our government can't be trusted about anything what's happening. The only thing that can be trusted is that they are bringing Marxism even more and more. And as I said, when I used to have a radio show, I was the first one to be canceled back in 2009. Nobody came to my defense, nobody. And even the great Rush Limbaugh knew about it. And nobody stood up for me because Obama, first black president in history, you know, looking at the color of his skin instead of what kind of person he is. And I called him out for being a Marxist and a communist. And so I got canceled and nobody came to my defense. So that's going to happen to you. Eventually they will come for you. If you think that you're going to be silent, that you're safe, you're not. Once they totally take over, they will come for all of you. And not only for the Republicans or the conservatives or the Christians, they will come for the Democrats as well. It's called a cleaning, which the communists always did. And just to keep fear going, install fear. So you don't stand up. Even if you're on their side, they will crush you because that's what evil does. Evil doesn't reward you and evil can't help itself. Evil will always be evil and they will eventually grind you up. And so you think you're on their side, they will come for you as well. All right, I think that's enough for now. Hopefully this election will go the right way. No shenanigans, but you need to watch. God bless you and take care.